Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the One and a Half White Guys podcast, or more solicited white guy opinions on movies for long. I'm Nathan, your half white guy.
I'm Nick, your one white guy.
And today, audience, look, it's our very special Halloween episode, starting our episode's recording. Look at all of this. Ooh, spooky. Look.
Very spooky aesthetic
light,
going on here.
Purple light. Ooh, spooky.
Well, now they can see the purple light since we've pointed it out to them.
Coursed. Look how nice it is, though. I do like that. Welcome back to the podcast where we talk about comedy, movies, and most importantly, our dreams.
Our nightmares.
Our nightmares and who lives in them. Now, we are, again, let's just get into this straight out. We are doing today Nightmare on Elm Street. It is the 40th anniversary of this movie, Nick.
I had a nightmare once. You were in it.
Oh, okay. Was I chasing you around with the knives?
No, we got taken hostage and then they just shot us both in the head.
You told me this.
Yeah.
You got problems. 40 years of Nightmare, and this is also just kind of a celebration. I think this is our second Wes Craven movie. We did Shocker first. You forgot that Shocker existed, but we did Shocker first. But this is our second Wes Craven movie, and arguably his magnum opus. This is the one everyone remembers him for the most, I would say. So besides...
Oh, it's between that or Scream.
Well, besides Scream, because he didn't write Scream. But he wrote this.
Sometimes that matters. I personally think Scream might have the bigger fan base. That's kind of the fan base roped into this fan base, essentially, too. So in the end, I guess you're right. Elm Street would be the more popular one with bigger fan base. Also, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Sassy Sledgehammer on Instagram. If you don't follow her, you should, especially if you're a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. This girl is an Elm Street queen. Let me tell you, she lives and breathes Nightmare movies and Nightmare fandom. Really go check her out. She's awesome. We really hope to have her on one day. And if you are an Elm Street fan like ourselves, you should definitely follow her.
I would say so.
If you like Elm Street, but you don't like Scream, it's like, I have yet to meet you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We are doing Nightmare on Elm Street, released in 1984, written and directed by Wes Craven, starring Freddy Krueger as Freddy Krueger. Is that his most famous?
They got the real killer. They just let him do what he did, and they filmed him.
It's Robert Englund's most famous role, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, everyone looks like, oh, it's Freddy Krueger. He's Freddy Krueger. He's Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund, obviously.
All them Gen Zers gonna be like, oh my god, you mean the guy from Stranger Things?
Is he in Stranger Things?
He's in the best episode in Stranger Things. Yeah. He's the blind old man they have to visit in the asylum.
Yeah.
Who's like, my son's a fucking demon dipshit fucking asshole, and he killed our family.
He's a little piece of shit. That girl that got killed at the beginning of Shocker as Nancy, that's Heather Langenkamp.
We don't see that. The girl being wheeled out on a stretcher.
He killed
at the beginning
Nancy.
Of Shocker.
He killed what Freddy could never do. Captain Jack Sparrow as a human smoothie. Be a Captain Human Smoothie in there somewhere.
Captain Glenn Lance in this.
Yeah. And a bunch of adults who are absolutely fucking useless throughout this whole entire movie. And I do want to say this. This movie is vying for most amount of useless adults. Per screen time. Every single adult in this movie is fucking useless. There is not one good adult in this movie.
That's not true.
Who?
Mr. Krueger does his fair share of killing in this.
Well,
he is very useful in this.
He's dead. So
know what I'm saying.
Of the living adults, everyone in this movie is a moron. Absolute moron. And just unwilling to accept what is actually happening in front of them.
You say the adults are morons, but honestly, Nancy among her friends is the only actual smart one. Everyone else is a big moron too. Like Tina's a moron, honestly. Glenn is a moron too because he doesn't take any of it seriously.
I am willing to accept that, but I'm not willing to accept the adults that are responsible for Freddy Krueger's death. Not accepting the blind reality in front of them that something really fucking weird is going on. Just completely unwilling to listen to their kids. That's the thing. So like all the adults are useless. And I do mean that in this one.
Do not listen. Just go find the stash of alcohol.
That's all
and
they do.
That shit and immediately.
Also, like all the adults have like super bad vices. There's either pills or alcohol or what does Glenn's dad do?
He's fat.
He's gluttonous. That's it. Jesus Christ. All right. You want to...
Glenn's busy right now, you dumb harlot. Get out of here.
Stop calling my son.
Stop calling my son, who I'm sure is totally fine upstairs at the moment. Mom walks in. Oh, my God.
You want to do the IMDb summary?
Yeah. All right, I got the summary right here. It consists of teenager Nancy Thompson must uncover the dark truth concealed by her parents after she and her friends become targets of the spirit of a serial killer with a bladed glove in their dreams, in which if they die, it kills them in real life. I don't care for this summary.
I don't know. This was straight from IMDb. It's very convoluted.
This gives too much away. All you got to say
Here's
is
what I would say. Teenager Nancy Thompson and her friends are the victims of a spirit of a serial killer who appears to them in dreams. That would be the summary of the movie. Or must fight against.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you need. Like,
we don't need to reveal the parents have something to do with it.
The parents, like, there's too much going on.
We don't need to give away, like, his weapon of choice.
I'd like to introduce this to a new segment to the podcast. Worst IMDb summary so far. And in this segment, we talk about the worst IMDb summary we've had. It's this one.
I think Jurassic Park still kind of sucks.
That one does suck, but this one's also really, really bad.
I don't think this was written by the people who made the movie.
It's IMDb. Like, this is. You know what? IMDb, if you see this, if you want to get someone on rewriting this summary for Nightmare on Elm Street, all right, should we get into past experiences with Nightmare on Elm Street?
You remember when YouTube was not Google YouTube?
When it wasn't policed as well?
Yeah, and so people would upload movies in like 10-minute increments.
Yeah.
Like as several parts.
There was a lot of other really bad stuff on YouTube at the time.
I'm not here to talk about that.
But in the bad stuff, there was just piracy galore.
Oh, the glory days. How we long to go back to them. So picture this little 8th grader Nick. He's going through his horror phase right now. Mm-hmm. And he finds out that behind his parents' backs, he can just watch the horror movies he intends to watch all on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
Because this is back when videos couldn't exceed 10 minutes. So people would upload movies.
In 10-minute increments?
In 10-minute increments in several parts. So that's how I watched all the Halloweens, all the Blades, several of the Fridays, and the first Nightmare. But eventually Blockbuster went out of business a couple years ago, and I was really going through my horror phase back then. So one of the ones I bought when they said, hey, we're just going to sell all our copies from our local Blockbuster was Nightmare on Elm Street.
Show it with no glare. See if you can find it with no glare. Oh. Let me just zoom. Let me see if I can hold it out. Zoom in real close on that.
There you go.
Kind of. We're going to have to cut to a close-up
I
version.
swear. It says Nightmare on Elm Street, from Blockbuster.
$2.99. Can I see this real quick? What's in there? Oh, it really.
It's my broken DVD. It really. Thanks to Nathan.
It really came at me. You know what? We should show the DVD as well. That.
Zoom in on that shit, editor.
Mr. Krueger.
That's a wonderful memory I have with my mom, actually, is because it was on a school night, and I never went out on school nights.
Yeah.
So I asked her, I found out that Blockbuster was going out of business. They're selling all their copies. I went to her that evening after school, and I said, hey, I've got some money. Can you actually drive me here so I can go buy some copies? She's like, yeah, sure. And so she took me there, and I bought that, Sleepy Hollow, Halloween 4.
Okay.
And then just because I was a dumb kid at the time, and I was just like, Will Ferrell, Land of the Lost. Those are my 4 copies. It's just a really nice, it's a very dear memory I have with my mom. It's just really cool that she did that. The place was packed though. Yeah. Everybody was just buying shit.
Yeah, it's a shame because we don't have any more copies. We really don't have any place to get that physical media anymore, you know?
Or Rasputin's?
Yeah.
Maybe? Or a little Amoeba music?
Yeah, it's hard, but it's hard to get. They're making less and less of them, you know?
But it did stick with me. Especially him. I thought he was very effective because the most of him I really knew was Freddy versus Jason, because I'm not going to lie, that actually was the first Elm Street movie I saw.
Oh, there you go.
And I call that an Elm Street movie more than a Friday movie.
Well, it takes place in Elm Street.
Yeah, but eventually
Elm Street, USA.
So eventually they go to Camp Crystal Lake,
which is next to Elm Street, USA.
But if you're to look at the story as a whole, sorry, really quick. If you're to look at the story as a whole, it's really an Elm Street movie, and Jason got dropped into it. He's so entertaining.
He is
in every single one he's in.
He's really the quintessential. He's like a captivating slasher to watch. Like
he's the most He's the slasher with the most personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way
because
to put it.
what else? Who else do we have? Really, is Jason Voorhees and
Leatherface,
Michael Myers. We didn't have Charles Lee Ray yet.
No.
As a matter of fact, I'm sure Child's Play got a lot of inspiration from Elm Street in a way. Because they're both very misogynistic.
Yeah. So that's your first experiences with it.
Sure, old YouTube.
Come back.
No, you should stay. You should stay in the past where you belong.
Come back. Come on back.
How about you?
Bring back the Chris Chan videos.
They remake Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's Chris Chan haunting everybody's dreams.
Where am I? Yeah, Quickville. Welcome to Quickville. It's in everyone's mind.
This is terrible.
We're really not even talking about Nightmare anymore. Okay. My first experience with Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one I ever watched was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And I only seen a clip at it that my friend's parents were watching when we were all hanging out at like a Halloween sleepover one time. It was like 6th grade, 5th grade. And I was very disturbed by what I saw on screen.
What was the part?
It was the part where the kid is in the hospital and Freddy like flips the nurse around on the ceiling and starts ripping her up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the part I remember. And I was
Tina's her.
I was very disturbed. It was very scary for me. I was like, I hadn't really watched a ton of horror yet in 6th grade. I asked my dad, I think one time when we were out at a Spirit Halloween, because I finally saw like a Freddy Krueger costume, and I was like, who is this guy? Because I watched a movie and I was like, he's like, oh, he's from a movie. And I said, well, what's the movie about? And he was like, well, there's like this teenage girl that like kind of dreams him back to life. That was the first time I ever really got into the idea of like what Freddy Krueger was and what the movie was about. And honestly, I feel like that's a summary. That's a better IMDb summary than what we got.
But when did you watch it?
This is a teenage girl that dreams Freddy back to life. Put that on their IMDb.
Way to go, Nancy.
Way to go, Nancy. You accidentally dreamed the killer back to life. I must have watched it, I think that Halloween. I must have been like 7th grade or something like that, where I like watched it. I forget how I got a DVD of it somehow. And then later we did like horror movie nights in high school and we watched it again. And everyone besides me and like one other guy were like, this sucks. Like all the people around me were like, this is dumb, because they said, because they were just like, oh, like it's like, you know, it's like
old
horror of the 2000s, right? Everything's got to be so dark and gritty and everything like that.
Where's the jump scares?
And they were like, they didn't like the scene where Nancy obviously like fell asleep in the bathtub. They were like, this is so dumb.
One of the many scenes mimicked horribly in the remake.
Oh
too.
Yeah, the practical effects in it look amazing too. Freddy was my first slasher I ever watched. Nightmare was my first slasher. I had not seen Texas. I had not seen Halloween. I hadn't seen any of the Friday the 13th yet. Nightmare was the first one. I think it's basically the continuation of the best type of slasher, where the stakes have been raised from Halloween a little bit more, but like the core elements of a slasher movie are still there. But now there's a little bit more of the paranormal and supernatural.
It's a genius idea. It's
really
very
is.
intimidating too. Like, just think how difficult that would be to strength-wise be able to handle that, but also anxiety-wise. How would you be able to figure that out? What's going on if you were too scared to even do the basic of self-preservation, which is sleep?
Yeah.
Humans need to sleep. When you can't do that out of shit-spewing fear, that is not only one of the most terrifying ideas ever, but it's also just makes Freddy Krueger the biggest piece of shit in the entire galaxy.
The biggest piece of shit in the galaxy.
You fucking bastard. You won't let people sleep, because sleep is great. Sleep is so important to us. And this guy will...
I'm going to take the one thing away you have, because it's the only time you're vulnerable to.
You're fucked, essentially.
Yep. And actually, I have an interesting thing. So Wes Craven came up with this idea after reading about a bunch of refugees that came over from Cambodia to escape Pol Pot's regime.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have heard this.
These men would have these really, really vivid nightmares about things and refuse to sleep. And they would just stay up because they were so terrified. And eventually, after being awake so long, they would fall asleep from exhaustion, but they would wake up screaming and die.
They die from fright.
But also it's just like the anxiety put on the heart, and just like how your body isn't functioning at 100%, and you know, you're putting yourself in a weakened state. And it's like basically one big thing will do it.
It's a horrible way to go.
Yeah, it sounds really, really scary. And
most people say like, oh, when I die, I'd like to just die in my sleep. You know, that seems quick and painless. Kind of makes you reconsider that. Just be like, you know what? Maybe I better just fall to my death in the real world.
I want to die in my sleep. Wish granted, bitch. Anyway,
he actually doesn't start saying bitch until 3. I think.
Yeah, he doesn't. There's a lot deep into this and kind of what they say in the movie about dreams and where they come from and how it all connects. Like these are things that are hard to really understand for medical personnel. And he said that he was so freaked out by this, he wrote about it. And there was a variant of, they called this Asian death syndrome, which seems a little, whatever. But it is a variation of SUDS, which is sudden unexpected death syndrome.
Well, good thing they didn't cast a Cambodian actor to be Freddy Krueger.
Well, that would have been crazy. That would have been a little insensitive. This movie skirted the line with sensitivity too. There was a lot of things that like barely avoided.
Before we get into the plot, I did want to tell you the very first exposure I had to Freddy Krueger. I was in a hotel room with my mom and dad. I was really little, and I think it was AMC. And they were showing like a preview for like a Nightmare Marathon.
Oh.
That had to have been what it is, because the very first shot of Freddy Krueger I ever saw was that scene in Freddy's Revenge. It's the pool party where he just jumps out and goes like, Pah! I don't know what he's doing. I don't even know how he jumps out. It looks like he jumped out of a trampoline or something.
This is Nightmare 2, right?
Yes.
The gay one.
Like I knew who Freddy...
it's true.
Like Freddy kills children, but he is very much an ally to the LGBTQ.
He's very much like, and we support that. He can be a bad guy and still not be a bad guy. You know? Why don't you just listen to your son? He's trying to tell you who he really is.
We're crossing a really thin line here.
I thought we could do another take on a series we like doing, because Nightmare on Elm Street is so beloved. I thought we could turn to Reddit and ask, so this is Tales from the Reddit again.
There's got to be more than one subreddit for Elm Street, right?
Well, I'm on the horror movie one, but there's definitely like different, stories.
So where you put these questions is the horror movie subreddit.
I use the horror movie subreddit. I'll post them around sometimes and just see what people have to say and if they're willing to talk about it. I only got one for you this time.
Okay.
The first one is from Pin Administrative 894, and they said, the best Nightmare on Elm Street ever. This was the only movie Freddy was definitely scary in. All others were still good, but comical. We do need to talk about, I'm wearing a Nightmare 4 shirt given to me by my partner, Crystal, on there. And Dream Master, 4 is like chasing the high of number 3, and then 5 is chasing the number 4. And I was like, but number 4 sucked.
I think 4 is not bad. I think it might be a little better than 2. 3 is undisputed king of the sequels.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. I know for you it's New Nightmare, but come on, Dream Warriors, like you can't go wrong with Dream Warriors.
Sure, fair enough.
But Dream Master, I think was the highest grossing one, like in the 80s, like when it came out, like after, because Dream Warriors came out and that actually like blew everybody away. People were like, oh shit, Nightmare's back, baby.
We're back. We're so back.
And they rushed into production with Dream Master and they were like, oh shit, what have we done? But then it comes out and it's like the highest grossing one because Freddy was so popular at the time. The Nightmares were killing it in the 80s. Competition wise, they had like the Fridays to go off of, but those were slowly dying. I think when the Nightmares, when the Fridays were kind of dying down, that's when the Elm Streets like were having their day.
Rose to prominence. Yeah. This one especially, and I do want to talk about this comment as well. There's definitely, I feel like this tends to happen as sequels happen, right? More slashers. The slasher has to change. So
there's a bit of evolution.
Freddy becomes less scary and less intense and becomes more of a Saturday morning cartoon by the later sequels where he's shoving a girl's head through the TV and screaming, "That's the prime time, bitch."
That's a bad way to go.
It is. Talk to Stu about that.
I always had a thing for you, Sid. but you know why they did that? Because people would go back for him.
The graphics. The graphics. Which one's that one where he gets the Nintendo Power Glove?
Freddy's dead.
Yeah, Freddy's dead. I beat my high score.
But they had to make him like that because everybody was going back for him.
Yeah, he just is.
And it was a slow progression. Every movie, he got a little sillier.
He got cartoony.
And then by 4, that's the Freddy we're stuck with the rest of the series.
Yep.
Still,
Until New Nightmare.
I disagree with the guy's comment on he's the scariest he is in 1.
Okay.
He's really scary looking and acts very scary in 2.
Oh, you have to think 2. He does pretty well.
In Freddy's Revenge, I don't know, there's a shot of him with his eyes like in the shadow while he's looking at Jesse. I think it's when he's going,
"We got special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body. I've got the brain."
There's so many feelings that this movie brings on are extremely visceral.
Yeah.
And that's why horror is so fun, is because when you really like commit yourself to that and you go, these horrifying, terrifying, like grotesque, nightmarish things are happening on screen, but I'm smiling from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I'm having fun watching horror. That's what horror is all about.
That was our Tales from the Reddit. We thank you for letting us use your comments. And we're very excited to keep working on making more of these podcast episodes with more input from Redditors. I think that's a lot of fun, especially when it comes to horror. Horror especially. Like everyone generally in the horror community
is a wonderful community.
Is usually really nice. Not like those sci-fi guys, you know what I mean?
Well, there's a very bloody Venn diagram of sci-fi and horror.
Yeah.
And right in the middle is a little movie called Alien Romulus.
Rage. I mean, this film is now culturally significant. In 2021, A Nightmare on Elm Street was selected by preservation for the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So 2021, this was entered into the Congress to be saved, like a copy.
Nice.
I mean, I would agree. I mean, this is hugely important, not only for the time, but also just the progression of the slasher genre.
This movie right off the bat is just, we can get into it now if you want. But like off the bat, it's unsettling, it's disturbing, it's intrusive, it's very violent all of a sudden. And it opens with a man filming a video tutorial on how to build the best like knife glove ever. And I do want to say, YouTube followers.
I do want to say, Wes Craven seems to start a lot of his movies with like somebody making something. Like Shocker starts like this.
How does Scream open? This is Drew Barrymore just like it's making popcorn. It's making popcorn.
It screams and then she makes popcorn. Somebody's always making something.
Yeah.
What was it? People Under the Stairs opens with what? Somebody playing with tarot cards.
Oh yeah.
making predictions.
Now, fool, you're the fool. Why do I gotta be called fool?
This is a mean nickname.
Anyway. Call him that for the whole movie. Like we get to see the hand glove for the very first time, and it's this leather brown glove with these really nice claw knives on each of the fingers.
You know what kind of knives they are?
Sharp ones.
But not fishing or steak knives, but tomato knives. They're like paring knives. And interesting fact about that glove as well. Same glove, original glove, also gets used in Nightmare 2. Same glove.
Nice.
Same fucking glove.
How about the sweater?
And
same sweater and hat?
I couldn't confirm that. But same glove also gets lent to another horror movie that gets made a few years later. I don't know if you've heard of this one. Evil Dead 2. It's hanging on the wall of the shed.
Oh, yeah.
Same glove. Same glove. Same glove as the original one. And then they were like, can we use it for Nightmare 3? And he was like, yes. And he lent it and somebody stole it. Somebody stole the glove.
Oh, no.
Somebody stole the original glove.
I didn't know that.
It is rumored to be in the possession of Robert Englund's agent who took it. But they cannot confirm. And to be honest, I don't know if you're ever going to be able to reveal that you have it without drawing ire. Even though Wes Craven has passed, R.I.P., I don't think you can ever reveal that you have the original glove. So if you have the original glove and it's like hidden somewhere, you might just have to keep hiding it or try to sell it on some kind of black market.
Did you think Tina was the main character when you first saw this?
Well, she really hits you with that Drew Barrymore, doesn't she?
Well, she's not doing so well because she
keeps having nightmares.
Well, she's just in this boiler room. is where we find her.
Yeah.
There's a random goat or sheep just kind of rolling around in there, but there's someone watching her and she doesn't know why. She's very scared. That's how this movie opens. And eventually she gets jump scared by this figure behind her and she wakes up in her bed. Turns out it was just a nightmare.
They shot that opening sequence in the boiler room, like all the boiler room sequences, the one where Nancy has the nightmare as well. It was shot in the basement of the Lincoln Heights jail in LA, which was condemned shortly after because of leaking asbestos.
Ruh-roh.
So Freddy's not the only thing gonna get you in there.
What is it with these movies?
You're fucked in here, Nancy.
What is it with these like Midwestern slasher movies? Like they're all like, we have to be in Illinois or Ohio. Why are we all shot in California though? Why can't we just say it's California?
They never say it. And they also they never name Elm Street in this movie.
Nope.
They never do they show the sign?
No.
Okay. So this doesn't even matter. It might not even be Elm
I might be wrong on that. Maybe the sign is shown.
Okay. They never actually say Elm Street in this movie. And then also they mentioned the San Fernando Valley, I think, at one point. So
Springwood, California.
Yeah, it just seems like, they move it later. But yeah, this was supposed to be, I think I was reading something where Wes Craven's like, it's supposed to be any town, USA. There's
an Elm Street in towns across America.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Freddy Krueger haunted like Mexico and it was called just L Street?
The Street?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. They changed the name but didn't change street to Spanish. That's your idea? White guy, everyone. Look at that. Give it. Tina's awake now. She's going to school with her friends the next day. And we get to meet the other cast of characters we're going to have to slowly watch disappear one by one over the next hour and a half. First and most importantly, we meet Heather Langenkamp. That's Nancy Thompson. And Heather Langenkamp beat over 200 actresses for this role.
That's a good thing.
She beat out Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, who would go on to be in The Substance, and many other things. Courtney Cox.
Well, eventually she'd get her Wes Craven.
Yeah, Tracy Gold, and Claudia Wells.
We have to touch on Heather Langenkamp as Nancy in this because
it's a standout. It's her standout performance to put her on the map.
Fucking love Nancy Thompson. Nancy Thompson is extremely likable and extremely
capable.
Thank you. She is very level. She understands. She is a quick study. Yeah. Essentially. And a lot of this is her making it up as she goes, just kind of following the rules as they're kind of laid to her. Luckily, because she hasn't lost her life in the midst of, this journey. She really is a treasure in this as a final girl. She's like, I really do think, and this is coming from a Halloween fan, she's the final girl of final girls. Yeah. I have to say that.
She's the archetype.
I love Laurie Strode, but in the end, unfortunately, Dr. Loomis had to come to her aid. Nancy Thompson did all this shit on her own.
Nancy Thompson is the gaslight gatekeep girl boss of Final Girls.
What I have written down, she's adaptable.
Yep.
She's smart. She's very no nonsense.
Yep.
But very caring.
Yes.
And more sensitive than she lets on. Major shout out to her though. Her performance holds up.
We also get to meet her boyfriend, which is Glenn, played by Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was actually
wait.
Who? Yeah, who?
I don't think that guy went on to be in
Yeah, he wasn't in anything else.
Yeah. Oh, you know what he was in? He popped up on the TV in Freddy's Dead.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. First film role for Johnny Depp. He was in LA with doing stuff with his band, and I think a friend of his sent him I don't know if they suggested it to him or they gave him the clipping and they said, hey, you should go audition for this.
Yeah, first role is Glenn. So one of the other things is he was cast because apparently Wes Craven's daughter said that he was dreamy.
He's
dreamy, and that she was like, I am going to run away if he is not cast. Apparently she said something like that to him. Like, hey, you need to cast him or I'm not going to be your daughter anymore or something like that. That's so fucking funny.
What is it, the 80s? I'm going to join some helter-skelter shit right now.
Yep, exactly. Rod. Now, Rod doesn't matter too much. He's Tina's boyfriend. He's not going to be in it too long. But when you first saw this guy again, who would you who should play this role?
Christopher from The Sopranos?
Besides Michael Imperioli. I was the.
Who?
I mean, so this is a guy that was actually considered Ralph Macchio.
Oh, yeah.
I immediately
okay.
was like, this is Ralph Macchio. This first second I saw, I could see him being this guy.
Can you imagine?
Ralph Macchio.
No, they think he did it. And then
Just like my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, and then they got him in the police station just be like, you stabbed the girl. I stabbed the girl.
I stabbed the girl on the ceiling. Joe Pesci. What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Walking in on like walking in on the body. What the fuck is this piece of shit?
What a crossover of my cousin Vinny and Nightmare on Elm Street.
And so it's Tina, Rod, Glenn, and Nancy. Nancy and Tina, they're BFFs. Glenn is Nancy's boyfriend.
Secret.
Yeah, very secret.
Very secret.
Or is she just ashamed to be seen?
I don't know.
Because she's always like rejecting his advances
my
and
daddy
everything.
will shoot you dead.
Well, yeah, maybe she's just scared for him.
Yeah.
At that point, because John Saxon plays her dad. We don't meet him yet, but John Saxon he might as well just be his Black Christmas character again, just that same sheriff.
Yeah.
Tina's mom is out of town and she has been having these nightmares. So she asks her friends, can you just come like sleep over so I have people around me, which is legitimate.
And then Rod's like, don't worry, I will 100% come comfort you and help you.
They bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
After he scares the shit out of Johnny Depp.
They have the loudest.
And then threatens him with a fucking greaser knife.
Yeah, he breaks in, scares Johnny Depp, and then is like, let's bang Tina. And then they have the loudest sex ever. And it only shows Johnny Depp's character awake, or is Nancy also laying there like, oh my God?
No, it cuts to Nancy when the wall like turns into Freddy.
Oh,
to,
yeah,
like, look over her.
she's all having like a nice sleep there.
Yeah. Her parents must get it on nightly or something. So
Yeah.
it's just like white noise to her.
Nancy's asleep, and we get to see probably one of the coolest, most memorable shots of the movie, and I would say horror in general. Do you know how they achieved that?
Looney Tunes effects. He just ran really fast into the wall, and then like
There was like
and then just
there was
like elastic
Acme portal over the top of it.
Yeah.
Well, so the shot is Freddy Krueger leaning over through the wall, and it's like an elastic looking down at Nancy as she sleeps. It was done by stretching a sheet of spandex across a hole in the wall and pressing against it. Freddy is actually played by special effects designer Jim Doyle in that shot too.
He is played by a few other people in the movie.
Well, I mean,
like for certain shots.
When you don't need Robert Englund to be, in there in his face and like certain things like that.
I don't know if
you
this
can really
is-
have anyone.
But I don't know if this is in your trivia, but originally, like when they first started shooting this movie, they didn't have him. He was like the last addition that they had because when they were shooting it, Wes Craven just hired a stuntman to be Freddy.
Oh, really?
But then when that performance it wasn't eliciting the performance that he needed.
Yeah.
Based on what he wrote as Freddy, he realized I need an actor to actually play this character because
I
it's just
need
like
something with some charisma.
because that's what slasher movies were. You
Yeah.
don't need like an actor. You just put a guy in a mask, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, not to discredit actors playing slashers and whatnot. A lot of them show performances through a lot of their body language and
physical
whatnot.
performance. Yeah.
But it's not that he didn't take it seriously. He just didn't think he needed that kind of. I need to cast someone, and that's where Robert Englund came in.
Perfect. I mean, I agree. I mean, when you have a movie that's this kind of quick and moving fast, you kind of need somebody to help carry that along. That's a little more charismatic.
Yeah.
Because if not, it just feels dull on the other side.
Let's just touch on him now. God bless him,
Robert
for
Englund.
this and everything he's done. The character became campier. He really did. But in these first two movies, especially the second one, he is terrifying.
He's
in these
absolutely
movies.
terrifying. Yeah.
He is this scarred, burned, just freak, essentially. And like I can call him that because he's a bastard. It's just like, oh, you're gonna pick on a burn victim? Like,
what did he do to get burned?
There's a reason. There was some slight vigilantism going on.
Slight vigilantism? He got off. They killed him. That's vigilantism.
Someone forgot to sign something and he just got to be free. So the parents were just like, not on our watch.
Mr. Krueger, you are cleared of all charges.
Really? Oh, okay.
I would say all the cops are like, what the fuck?
Can you imagine if they just, this movie would have been avoided if they just did New Jack City on him?
Yeah.
Like he walks out of the courtroom, someone just shoots him.
Bang. This is New Line Cinema that produced this movie.
Yeah.
This, I'm sure you know this. This is important. This is the movie that saved New Line Cinema from like certain bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy.
This is New Line Cinema went on to be the house that Freddy built. So thank God for Robert Englund keeping New Line Cinema around as well.
Yeah, Robert Englund carrying the studio of New Line Cinema on his shoulders effortlessly.
As well as accelerating Wes Craven's career to the top as well, right? Essentially ascending him to the level of John Carpenter.
Well, it was a success at the box office, but I think it was the most crowd-pleasing of his movies.
Yes.
Before...
I mean, like Hills Had Eyes, Last House on the Left had happened. Shocker. Shocker hadn't happened.
Those are straight exploitation, though. And then he had like Deadly Blessing and Swamp Thing, and then he just needed money, so he did Hills Have Eyes too. Yeah. And that one is just dumb slasher. Mm-hmm. But when he does Nightmare, it's like, oh, this is like kind of an all audiences horror movie. Yeah. Because Swamp Thing's this B-grade superhero movie.
Oh, okay.
And Deadly Blessing, as ambitious as it is, it kind of got lost to time. It's just this really creepy sort of Amish horror story. Mm-hmm. And it which had a lot of ideas, but ultimately kind of falls flat. I don't think it's one of his most well-regarded ones. No. But that came before this. But then we have stuff like Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes, which are horror movies, but they are straight exploitation movies. Oh, yeah. They are straight up just like, dude, this shit is not for everybody.
Well, he comes from porn, so it's super, super voyeuristic.
Abe Snake.
Yep.
Is because Elm Street comes out, it's just like, if you compare it to Last House and Hills Have Eyes, writing-wise, you can see similarities. Yeah. He has a very certain way of how he writes characters and dialogue. Like, again, a lot of his movies have attitude to them. Mm-hmm. But this one, if you want to say it kind of jumped on the riding the coattails of like the slasher movement and whatnot, that's fine. He came up with a brilliant idea, but it is like his safest movie at the time. Sure. Does that make sense? Sure. Like his most crowd pleasing. This is the one all audiences could actually get behind. I have written down mysterious, creepy, and grotesque. He's a super predator. Is what he is. Because he's always playing with his food.
Yes.
It's just
like a velociraptor.
Not only is he a joker, he's an asshole.
He's a velociraptor.
He's a big asshole. He's a big bully, essentially. He just kind of instills this confusion and this fear before he just puts you out of your misery, which is, what a torturous way to live. It's just like being afraid to actually go to sleep. And he's so mean to these kids in their dreams. Honestly, he's this short guy. He's a short king.
Yeah.
And he's got his glove with knives on it. And he just wants you to know when you see him, he's either going to jump scare you or he's going to do something disgusting.
He's just an asshole.
He's a piece of shit.
He's really a monster of a slasher.
Yeah.
Michael Myers, Jason, simple.
One track minded.
Simple, efficient, mechanical, by the book. Mm-hmm. Freddy, fucking bastard.
But Robert Englund is so good. And I love that it seems like he's having a lot of fun doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Like where he's just like mugging and like smiling. And
that's
like,
why Robert Englund keeps coming back, right? He kept coming back. He just enjoyed being Freddy because it's like, how often do you get to just be this weird asshole?
I don't think they condensed his performance too. I think like they really did give him a lot of free reign.
Yeah, leeway to just do whatever you want.
Not do whatever you want, but like, here's your character. Don't think about who he was before he died. Think about the bitterness and vengeance. What is Christmas about? Vengeance that comes with this personality.
Yeah.
He really does just torture these people to death out of spite, honestly.
So according to Robert Englund, you know who he based a lot of this performance on?
Himself.
Well, that's...
they just filmed him. That's how he is in real life.
So
a murderer.
Yeah. Robert Englund, you heard it here first. He based the physicality on Klaus Kinski's performance in Werner Herzog's Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I could see a little bit about that. And he also says, I was reading an article where he was talking about, it was on the DVD.
I can see it.
It was talking about the DVD commentary. He was like, Freddy's backstory and how he should feel was based upon something from his own childhood when they were in Valentine's Day, when he was growing up, Valentine's Day. In school, everyone made Valentine's cards for each other. But there was this boy who received no cards from anyone. No cards. Well, Robert Englund was like, in my mind, that kid grows up and becomes Freddy.
Oh.
And then somewhere that kid is like, what the fuck?
In reality,
he's like, I'm a plumber. No,
in reality,
Yeah.
in reality, he reaches into his backpack.
I'll give you a nightmare. Let me show you.
Back to the plot.
Tina falls asleep and
Tina,
goes through.
thankfully, before she dies, gets good and laid.
Good and late.
At the very least, just like, you got one last good one.
Yep, and makes a culturally insensitive joke, and then moving on. Regardless,
I love it though.
Regardless, we get to see Freddy essentially be at his power. We get to see what we're actually dealing with that we didn't get to see in the opening dream. This dream she has is Freddy doing everything he wants to chase this girl, to terrify her, to do everything. He has long arms that extend, and it's like, I can play with your dream in reality. I am in control of this dream.
Do we know it's a dream yet, though? Tina, because dumbass Tina hears something outside and decides to go investigate without putting on any pants.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm just going to go into the back alley.
Who's there?
Oh God, that shot of his shadow on the fence behind her is still, it's our first real introduction to him.
Yeah.
Because we see him and she's starting to freak out because she knows who he is.
Yes.
I am God.
Is God.
Yeah. Starts to run and he just, he chases her.
I love him chasing her down the street. Just
yeah.
It's the most he ever.
He's doing the Zoidberg run.
Yeah, it's really funny, but the thing is, somebody doing that to you is really scary.
But she can't get away from him. He keeps teleporting.
Teleporting.
He mutilates himself in front of her just to show her what he's all about. It's she even rips his face off at one point, and he's still laughing at her.
He's still laughing. He's the skull. Now it's.
But then we cut back to Tina just in bed, just screaming for her life, dude.
And Rod doing absolutely
waking Rod the fuck up,
doing absolutely nothing but sitting, watching her get thrown around the room, and going, Tina.
Hold on. The game really changes when all of a sudden she starts getting cut up, man.
Yeah.
Like, just like this unseen force rips open her shirt, and just, that is so bloody. Like those 4 gash marks just that appear like on her torso and start bleeding. And her screams just turn to like gurgles, essentially. It's just like, oh, and it's just like, the game has changed here. What the hell is going on? And then this bitch starts floating around the room. Like,
whatever happens to you in your dream happens to you in real life. That's essentially whatever happens. If he throws you, if he stabs you, if he picks you up, that's what you're dealing with in real life. And everyone around you has no idea what's happening. Yeah. Including Rod, who's just screaming, Tina, Tina, Tina.
She is getting dragged up the walls,
blood
onto the ceiling, on the corner of the ceiling and the wall, just like blood, just bleeding everywhere. She's screaming for her life, just like she's dying in pain.
Yeah.
This is no longer fun camp. This is like, what a way to announce itself.
Yeah.
Like, what a good first kill. It's just like, this is what it's all about. This is what you're up against.
So Amanda Wyss apparently, after this dropped, was handing out candy at her mom's house for Halloween after the movie came out, and then saw tons of kids in the Freddy Krueger costume. And she was like, oh, I'm Tina. And they're like, no, you're not. And to laugh. It's so funny.
No candy for you.
No one remembers Tina. No one remembers her performance. Everyone remembers Heather Langenkamp.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
If you haven't seen it, Nancy now has to figure out all of the situations, and none of the adults are going to help her. Glenn is barely going to help her.
Oh, he's more useless than some of the adults.
Glenn is only like slightly more useful.
Glenn, you bastard.
Glenn just wants to get laid, dude.
She has to go through this whole mystery and whole trauma on her own and try to put together what happened and where this is all coming from.
The effects in this movie, I think visually, this whole movie is just pure eye candy. This popcorn slasher flick is very colorful looking, even though its subject material is just the bleakest shit ever. But I think other visuals that really stand out is just like Tina in the body bag. Yeah, like talking to Nancy, and the blood bedroom, which we can't give too much of away. It's just like when Freddy even cuts like a really imposing figure, like he comes on the scene and the way he's shot and his whole aesthetic is, I think even back then it was just kind of like writing itself, you know? Yeah. And today we look at that and it's just like, that's Freddy. But back then you look at that and you go, this is fresh. This is new. This is visually
just different.
This is visually like kind of like eye-catching.
Yeah.
Like this guy in this hellish room where he takes all his victims in this very like industrial looking like hellscape.
Mm-hmm. I gotta
Which
agree.
which is where he killed the children too, isn't
Yep.
it? And the last thing I'll say is like I love the score in this movie. The theme is unmistakable.
The use of synthesizer too is banging in all of these.
It blend like I have written down. It kind of blends this whimsical fantasy feelings with this creepy apprehension.
Yes.
It's very dynamic and unpredictable, very much like the man himself.
Yeah.
It's just like because like do 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 do. It's just like it sounds like something you might hear in a fantasy fable or something like that. But then you get the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
That's anxiety inducing
Yeah.
right there. You kind of like what's around the corner. I have to keep walking because I don't know where I am. That's what being in a nightmare is like.
Really, I feel like we can leave this here. Let's get into the facts section. Again, the facts section are real facts about the movie that I've researched. Nick has never seen these before, and he's going to read them for you. I only got like one or two.
Far out, man. Nightmare on Elm Street fact section. Fact number 1. A Nightmare on Elm Street was released on November 9th, 1984 to a $1.3 million opening weekend. It earned a total of $7.7 million while in theaters, placing it at number 2,079 on the all-time inflation-adjusted domestic box office list. Some of its competition in the fall and winter of 84 included The Terminator, starring the Governor of California, Night of the Comet, where they got stuck in the mall again, and finally Beverly Hills Cop, starring that sweet, sweet synth tune Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer.
Not the Crazy Frog one. Anyway, let's also talk international numbers. 57 million worldwide. I could not confirm that. The only place I could 100% see that was Wikipedia. So take that with a grain of salt.
But its budget was $1 million something, right?
1.8 million. You know how much was actually devoted to special effects, both practical and editing?
Tell me.
57,000. Jim Doyle accepted because he needed the money, and it made all of its money back, and it looks amazing.
Did I say half? I'm dumb. Sorry.
Yep. It made back all of its money opening weekend. So, great use of the money to create these effects.
To create this monster, like the makeup on him still looks...
But also just like the effects when she's like running up the stairs and it becomes like oatmeal on there. And, all these other ones, the slash marks on everyone, the way
blood.
that Freddy walks through things, just everything, $57,000. I mean, it can be a little bit more in today's money accounted for inflation.
Might look dated.
But more importantly, being able to work as an effects designer and create all this limited budget, being stressed and doing it and creating some of his best work. That's huge.
Made its fucking
made its money back immediately. Critically acclaimed, immediate people were like, everyone was giving this high
audiences
praise.
especially
loved it. Critics loved it. They were like, this is the we are so back. The slasher genre is so back.
We're back, baby.
And incredible long lasting legacy, as we can still talk about.
What a legacy.
Arguably,
right?
one of the best ones of all time. You want to take a guess at top movies 1984, Nick?
Well, it's Beverly Hills Cop.
You're forgetting a big one.
Ghostbusters.
Yep. Ghostbusters is number 1.
Ghostbusters was number 1.
Ghostbusters is number 1. You want to go number 2? Beverly Hills Cop is actually 4.
Oh, okay. 84, huh?
Mm-hmm. Second one is the sequel.
Really? Okay. Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
Man.
Temple of Doom is number 2.
It's probably because I'm only thinking of horror right now.
Don't feed them after midnight.
Wait, Gremlins?
Gremlins is number 3.
Good for Gremlins.
Yeah, it did pretty well.
I had no idea.
And I don't give you number 5, and we mentioned an actor from it. In fact, we mentioned this guy, even though he's the main character of this movie, is really the villain of the movie.
What?
We're supposed to like this kid in this movie, but in reality, he's actually the villain. I subscribe to this theory. The main character of this movie is the fucking villain. He's the bad guy.
84.
Yeah.
And it's a kid? It's a movie about a kid?
It's, the kid is in the title.
The Karate Kid.
Karate Kid.
The Karate
Ralph Macchio
Kid.
is the real fucking villain of that movie. He's such a piece of fucking shit.
Daniel LaRusso is the villain of The Karate Kid because he's the one who always instigates shit with Johnny.
He sprays water on him in the fucking stall. No reason. He just like lost a fight to him later or like earlier.
Fuck him.
Yeah, that's Halloween. You want
Everything he brings everything on himself, honestly.
Yeah, fuck Daniel LaRusso. Fuck Ralph Macchio.
Fact number 2. In the original script, Freddy Krueger was written as a child abuser in lieu of another word. However, the decision was made to change him into being solely a child murderer to avoid accusations of exploiting a series of child abuse cases in California around the time of production. However, Freddy would be rewritten as a child abuser in the 2010 remake starring Jackie Earle Haley, and it's honestly the worst fucking thing you have ever seen. I read somewhere...
It's really fucked up. It's somehow so much worse.
Look, I read somewhere that I think the remake actually would have been maybe a little bit memorable and probably a little bit more impactful and like maybe a little more well-regarded. The kids accused him of doing that shit to him. What if he was innocent?
Yeah, see that actually would be a lot more because then Freddy's justified.
That's pretty fucking intriguing.
Freddy's
Yeah.
justified.
What if he didn't do that shit? Like there's his motivation. There's his real
shit.
motivation. It's not, but they don't do that. He did that shit.
He did.
And it makes the movie suffer, unfortunately. As much as I like Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, I think he's a pretty creepy Freddy Krueger. It's like,
But again, it's part of that post.
if I kill one little child, nobody panics. But if I decide...
Don't do it. Don't cross this line here.
Well, then everyone loses their mind.
But also, it's that post 9/11 horror aspect where everything is so serious. There's no camp. There's no room.
We had to cross the line. We had to cross the line because the line was crossed on us.
There's no room for camp. So it's just everything is so serious. Everything's fucked. Everything is real life hell.
Have you even seen the remake?
Yes, I have. Saw it when it came out.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was all right. I was just like, I finished it at the time. I was like, that wasn't that good. There was some cool stuff. And now looking back, I go, I never want to see that again. All right, let's move on. What a story, Mark. Again, this is the most interesting fact I found about the movie. Nick actually might know some of this already. Nick's never seen it before, and he's going to give it a rating of 1 to 5 marks for you. And again, in the vein of our hero, Tommy Wiseau.
What a story, Mark.
I once knew a girl. She had a dozen guys.
Okay.
One of them found out about it and just killed her on Elm Street.
Oh, shit.
What a story, Mark. The inspiration for the character of Freddy Krueger came from several sources in Wes Craven's childhood. Fred Krueger was a schoolmate of his with whom he had shared a paper route and who had bullied him for several years. Freddy's burns came from a man with severe burn scars by whom Craven had once been terrified by as a child. And Freddy's attire, the dirty clothes and hat, was inspired by an alcoholic hobo that Craven saw staring at him through his window one day when he was 10 years old. This all to say Wes Craven scared very easily, and if you said so much as boo to him in the wrong way, you probably saw yourself as some fucked up killer on screen later. Yes, I did know all of this actually. His school bully was named Krueger.
Yep.
And that's why he named the big bad in Last House on the Left.
He's also Krug. Wes Craven's was a very sensitive guy.
No, Wes Craven is a very petty man.
Would you call me?
And what a piss on this guy's legacy, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, I named you after these monsters are named after you.
Sensitive and petty guy. So you have to wonder what do you think is the weirdest inspiration for ones he wrote, knowing that he put all of this in?
I think it's the hobo, like just because he was living. Well, he grew up like kind of like not very well off.
Yeah.
He grew up kind of in the projects, I think. And at one night while he was trying to sleep, he looked out his window and he saw like this hobo, like around a trash fire, and the hobo noticed him and just decided to just fuck with him and just look up at him and like smile and like scare at him and like jump scare him and shit. And he just like, whoa, he got terrified by that and tried going back to sleep. But it was just like, he was impacted by like, this guy took time just to fuck with a child.
Yeah.
Just to be an asshole to a child and scare this like innocent kid.
Stop staring.
That really stuck with him. Like the guy deliberately was just like, looking up at him or something, you know?
What do you think's the weirdest for like other movies he's done? What do you think has to be the weirdest inspiration? Where do you think the homeowners come from in People Under the Stairs?
Well, they're both played by Twin Peaks alumni.
Yeah.
So I think he was
Something
just a Twin
scared me.
Peaks fan.
He was like, I hate I hate white homeowners.
Who do
They're
I cast?
scary.
Ed and Nadine.
There we go. What would you rate this fact out of 5 marks?
I love People Under the Stairs, by the way. That might be
it's a
my
good one.
favorite. Like, if we're discounting Elm Street, that's my favorite. Of
It's
his.
a fantastic movie. Is People Under the Stairs.
Vanessa loved it too, dude.
What do you think?
This fact, this gets a 4.
4 out of 5 marks. All right, I'll take it.
A 4 out of 5. You'll take it? That's generous.
Yeah, it's generous.
That's generous considering I already knew most of them.
Well, you locked it in. No changing now. Anyway, moving on. Okay, should we get to our final thoughts and rating? Go ahead.
My final thoughts on this movie is just watch it. It's Halloween. It really is a good Halloween movie. You can watch it any time of the year, really, but in terms of creativity of a slasher film, of taking the idea, the very static, stoic idea of like a guy goes around killing teenagers, and they made it very scary again. Thanks to this. So bless Wes Craven for this. This is just a titan of the genre, a titan of movies in general. Like you said, it got put in the registry. There isn't a person, I don't think there's a person alive who even is not into horror that doesn't know what this movie is.
Yeah.
You know? I think the only weak point I have to say is that the ending is a bit abrupt and confusing. Honestly, I don't know if you agree or.
Well, I mean, that's everyone's least favorite part of the movie is the ending.
Yeah.
They were just trying to set it for just make it like a dumb joke.
Shocker! I'm a quintessential fan of the movie.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of love for this. I feel very lucky that I got to grow up with it. It was one of the prime ones in like my early horror fandom. This is gonna get a big fat 90 from me.
90.
It's just like there's so much love put into this, and it really kind of warms my heart to see the community around it like show so much love. This has like got to be, I think, of the franchises, of the big 3 franchises, I think this one might be the most prominent.
Yeah, this is foundational to my horror. I enjoyed it. 84.
84?
84. I'll give it that. I mean, I like New Nightmare more. I mean, as far as
you love New Nightmare.
well, it's not so much that I dislike this movie. I just like.
I didn't say you did.
Well, I'm talking to the audience here. Listen to me. I don't dislike Nightmare on Elm Street 1. What I'm saying is I appreciate the meta and commentary in A New Nightmare in 94. I really enjoy the way it blurs reality. Okay. I love this movie. 84. Good.
I got nothing.
Okay.
You seem a little prepared there.
No, what am I saying? The horror community is a lot nicer than those fucking sci-fi nerds. Every time I'm just going to attack them. All right. 90 plus 84 divided by 2, 87. 87 for Nightmare on Elm Street. I think a
wonderful number that it deserves.
Very well deserving number. I have a game to end with here. There's been no new Nightmare movies in the original timeline. There's only one timeline besides the Jackie Earl Haley timeline. But I thought Robert Englund's still alive. He could come back.
He did come back in the Goldbergs.
He did in the Goldbergs. Yeah, exactly that. So I was thinking, what would a new Nightmare on Elm Street look like? And I asked ChatGPT again, hey, can you write me a new Nightmare on Elm Street for the modern day? And it came up with Nightmare on Elm Street Live. Years after the last experience, a group of modern social media influencers dedicated to debunking old horror myths attempt to debunk the rumor and horror of Freddy Krueger. All influencers get together and venture to Elm Street, where they discover that maybe the story of Freddy Krueger has a little more truth to it than they originally envisioned.
That could work because
I'd be interested. I'd be willing to watch a bunch of TikTokers get fucking killed by Freddy Krueger.
That story works because, I mean, they emphasize this in Freddy vs. Jason. It's just like, if you talk about him, if you mention him, if you let anybody know about him, he gets power.
Yes.
He starts to come back. Yeah. And to have like newer generation, very addicted to social media, come in, there's some fun things you could do there. Yeah. They start like trying to maybe they fuck into like some lore, some newspaper clippings, Like they could go
They tried to do like go to sleep in the Elm Street house challenge, something like that.
Some shit like that.
Stupid thing like that, you know?
inadvertently,
That'd be interesting,
giving
you know?
him some power.
Yep.
What is your favorite sequel? Is it Dream Master?
I mean, are we not counting New Nightmare, like I said?
Oh. Never mind, we're done.
All right. That'll do it for us at the 1.5 White Guys podcast, or the more unsolicited white guy opinions on movies. Be sure to like us, follow us, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram at 1.5 White Guys podcast, on TikTok at 1.5 White Guys pod, and on our YouTube, hopefully where you're watching this, at 1.5 White Guys.
And be sure to tell a friend to listen to the podcast where we say we're going to talk a movie, and we might talk about that movie.
We might.
And if you want a little bit more of us, if you're not completely sick of us, you can check us out exclusively on the Nerdthusiast YouTube channel, where we have a second show called The Weird, the Bad, and the Bloody, where we review the weirdest, baddest, and bloodiest movies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
There's a lot.
We got a very special treat for you coming for our Halloween pick. And spoilers, it might have to do with Halloween a little bit more than you realize.
Yeah.
So feel free to check us out there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. What was the last nightmare you ever had?
Every time we do this show, I'm reminded. I'm working on a show with this guy. He's white.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. Happy Halloween season.
Happy Halloween. Go watch this movie, please.
See ya. Bye.